Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
It depends on we have some more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us again today. It's a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, no doubt about that. And this is Global Television, where you are on to Global Morning. We are Mofwebe saying we're delighted and we feel honored knowing that this program is valuable enough for you to make our time every other day, weekdays, weekends, to join us here. There's a song from some decades ago, Lady in Red. Right, so that lady is on the show this morning.
Good morning. Lady in red. Oh. Okay, that's all I
it.
Good morning. Good morning, and it's great to be on the show this morning.
All right, sir, we put it on the road for you as always, and we'll spend the next 3 hours or so talking about big issues across our country and beyond, just doing the weaving and unweaving one thread at a time. But the whole idea is to keep you engaged and then, of course, learning the curve with regards to all of these developing issues. Quite a number of them are in front of us this morning, but of course time will fail us to look at all of them in detail, or as my mom would say, in total. All right, but Osho is still one example of an area of our national lives where we need to find a resolution in the voice of late Aaliyah, all right, the American R&B singer. Why is that important? It has become more like a litmus test for the Supreme Court judgment coming from last year that says, look, going forward, local government councils must have autonomy. That has become a tussle, ironically, because as it stands right now, it appears the governors are not done with whatever it is they've been doing with the local government system in the country. Just in case you were not aware before now, there was an election. Yes, local government election in Osun State on Saturday. That election saw the emergence of chairmen and councillors for these councils. By Sunday, which was the very next day, they had all been handed their certificates of return so they could assume office. However, by dinner time on Sunday, the governor, Ademola Adeleke of the PDP, had told these newly inaugurated council chairmen and councillors that, look, stay clear of the council secretariats to avoid, as they say on the street, stories that touch. Because we know days before that, lives had been lost in that state on account of the, turbulence that's erupted, basically involving the ruling People's Democratic Party in that state and the opposition, the APC. Two key figures have been, made prominent, so to speak, on account of this violence in that state and all of the controversies. The first is the governor, Ademola Adeleke, and the other is the immediate past governor of the APC, talking about the now Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, yes, Adegboyega Oyetola, who again, we understand, has ambition to return to Government House in Osogbo, Osun State capital. But you see, that's just one of the several issues we have to talk about. But last week, just a couple of days before now, former military head of state, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, also had launched his book, all right? That book now has become a talking point for many. There are those who are saying that, no, we can't take this in a country like this where so much has gone down. We should have a better approach, a different approach to these issues. Others are saying, let bygone be bygone, and so on and so forth. And you have those who are saying that it was a shame that you could have this number of people attending such an event and things like that, that it doesn't bring healing, that this has not brought closure to those who have been hurt on account of decisions that were taken within the 8-year period during which this former general was in office. I mean, 1985 all the way to 1993 is quite a long time. A lot had gone down. Yes, we can't fix certain things. Some things have been broken and shattered in such a way that they're irreparable. But the question is, was this book written to bring healing? Was that event organized to find closure? Well, Queen told me a while ago that she was too busy to attend the event.
There's been a lot of commentary regarding this book launch, and people have been saying a whole lot, different points, different angles. And some people have said that it's just very amusing how someone who has supposedly done a whole lot in his tenure, how people were hurt, different things that had happened, wake up one morning and decide that, I want to write a book to counter or maybe to be the side of
control the narrative.
Yes, that narrative. And anybody can just wake up any. That is just funny, because knowing how much people knew or know, about your tenure and all that took place or took part within that period, and then you coming to, write a book to change the narrative, or just, maybe trying to repair some of the, or control some of the damages that has been done is, some people consider it very funny, very, for some people it's awful, and to think that, I was reading the comments, a lot of people were saying that to think that anybody can wake up any morning, regardless of what you have done, regardless of your trajectory, you wake up and just say that, I'm writing a book, and that's it. So, a whole lot. It's been very controversial, this book launch, but I should have been there.
Yeah, well, maybe when we'll write, when the second volume
comes out,
yes, you'll probably be there.
With all that is going on, I'm sure, I'm certain there's going to be a second volume.
Right. Every book just comes with its own measure of controversy. Remember when Dele Farotimi also released his book, controversy came, and then some of those issues became subjects of litigation at the end of the day. But I think it's a good thing to say that, quite a relief to say that one of the persons who felt that he was smeared on account of the content of that book has now said that, give or take, he has forgiven the man. Some of those charges have been withdrawn. He has withdrawn his charges, even though we hear that some of the matters are still in court and things like that. But you see, we must find a way to chronicle our history. However, we don't have to do this with malice. We don't have to necessarily do this from a place of trying to be vindictive or, what's the other word, maybe just to say mischievous. All right, but we must have our history written for generations coming after us, all right? So you understand where we're coming from. There's always a history to everything, all right? If there's an incident today, there's an event that happened today, for example, there's a pretty good chance that there's a pattern to it. There's a trajectory, to use Quinn's word. But in all of this, one of the things that has been highlighted very vividly is to say that, look, you can't write a book and expect that alone will help people heal. All right, have we found the truth? We also live in an era now where you now hear people say, that's my truth. And I'm one of those persons who think it's disturbing when you hear my truth. I don't know where that's coming from, but you see.
Is it the truth?
Yes.
Is it factual?
Exactly, it has to be the truth. All right, for example, this program starts at 7. Queen and I got it on the road at 7 this morning. So imagine I came at about, say, 7:15, and I joined the program. I said, well, I don't care whether it's 7 o'clock or not. The important thing is that we started the program. No. There's the leadership in the organization that says the program starts at 7. So we or anyone else cannot decide to come after that time and say, well, that's my own time. We don't wake up at the same time after all and things like that. So when people say, that's my truth, I think there's a bit of naivety that comes with that, because truth is universal. If it's not the truth, it's not the truth. I've seen people, for example, they say my name is XYZ, but they don't look their name. So how I feel exactly doesn't change their name. And you say, no, you don't look like Amara. You look more like Chisom, exactly. For the love of heaven.
It doesn't change the fact that I am Amara.
Exactly. So, yes, we may have written a book, but the question is, what does history tell us? Quite frankly, because Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has what she calls the problem of a single story. All right, let's leave it there. All right, there's a whole lot of development happening in the Southwest, but this time the focus is on those states where Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa got sworn in yesterday for what some persons now call his first full term in office as governor. I like the emphasis on first full term, because I think there's also the need to emphasize that whatever he had been doing the whole time was just him finishing what he started with his former principal, the late Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, blessed memory. So now the man is governor first full term. So when he comes back after 4 years and says, look, I want to run again, Kune will not start arguing with him and saying, look, no, Oga, you are done, give us chance. No. So I think that's the reason this has been established, but that's not even the point. The point is, there was so much of drama that led to him even emerging as the candidate of the party in the first instance, and that's the All Progressives Congress. And then, of course, the election started, which global television covered very effectively. Campaigns and all of that, and then there was election. The man eventually was declared the winner of that election. Yesterday, he got sworn in. And for many people in Ondo State, whether you are a member of his party or not, it was history-making. It was epoch-making event, because they thought with all of the turbulence, all of the obstacles the man needed to knock down to find his way to Aguda House, as it's called, the government house in that state, it's worth celebrating and is worth also reflecting on. And there's the thinking in some quarters that the move he made, one of his first actions in office was to grant clemency to some inmates, some of them who had been condemned, sentenced to death. He committed it to life, and others were let off the hook, as they say. They were released to, go back to join their families and things like that. So there's now the conversation around what more will he do differently as he takes over office, this time as not just somebody who was completing his, a term in office, which was, he was part of with his former principal, but now starting more like what you probably want to call fresh, having a fresh start, right? Incidentally, we'll be joined this morning by the Speaker of Ondo State House of Assembly, Oladimeji, to help us find sense in some of these developments. But I know you are not in Ondo State, so we'll let that slide. But there's also another issue we'll be looking at this morning on the program, but that will be basically after we return from this quick break. All right, it's that time where we turn to the papers for you to bring big headlines your way this morning, just to guide you through the news of the day. Blueprint happens to be our first port of call. We'll begin with the headline above the name mask this morning. First one here says, information, Minister Idris's mother-in-law laid to rest in Abuja. Then beneath the nameplate of the Blueprint newspaper this morning, 82 billion naira fraud, ex-governor Bello's name not on property documents, witness. Business segments has us with one headline here. Again, MultiChoice raises DSTV, GoTV subscriptions, of course. Sports, AFCON 2025, that's your kicker, excuse me. Super Eagles will approach each game as it comes. That's according to Osimhen. NNPCL, RMAFC, Arewa think tank orders back tax reform bills. Two riders with a big story. ACF wants 7.5% VAT retained. Agric equipment tax scrapped. Give me a workable law. Tinubu charges lawmakers. On the left side of the front page of the blueprint today, act decisively to end terrorism. CDS charges commanders. Reinstated Osun LG chairman issue 72-hour ultimatum to workers. You see, just like we're talking about a while ago, these workers, these local government chairmen, the one that had not finished their tenure or APC, are now back to the secretariat. So the question is, what happens to those who were elected just 3 days ago? No going back, NLC replies. All right, let's take it down a little further. Scrapping TED fund will be catastrophic, could give varsity VC warrants. Well, but we thought it was going to be an interventionist agency, but why are we still having this back and forth? All right, 9 die in Ogun auto crash. Quite a sad tale to tell there. NDLEA flags off campaign as drug abuse hits 3 million in Northwest. That number is quite troubling, no doubt. All right, recapitalize FMBN, that is Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. Recapitalize FMBN, 150 billion naira allocation to Murphy misplaced ex-Redan boss, tells FG. All right, that's the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, which is the business arm of the Ministry of Finance. All right, but now the Redan, that's the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, is telling the federal government to recapitalize the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, that is FMBN. Number one. Number two, it urges government to, says to government that allocation of 150 billion naira to Ministry of Finance Incorporated is misplacement of priorities. Now, for records, Ministry of Finance Incorporated is also in charge of the Family Homes Funds, which is an initiative of the federal government to drive housing access, affordable housing access, all right, for Nigerians. Well, let's leave it there with the Blueprint newspaper as we turn now to the Punch newspaper for you.
Okay, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have quite a number of stories. Big story that says, Lagos Assembly Speaker Miranda may step down as Akonde panel shortlist 7. Writer says, panel recommends Obasan's resignation. Akonde Oshoba to brief Tinubu on report. Above the nameplate, we have 2027. APC berates El-Rufai for attack on Tinubu and Ribadu. Filling station shut. Loading halted as Lagos impounds tankers. IBB's book, Don't Tarnish Braithwaite's Name. Family warns Obasanjo. And here we have Ayedatiwa begins new term for Fasoranti's son. Others get cabinet appointment. Osun crisis. Local government workers shun APC chairman's ultimatum to resume. $4.5 billion fraud. Emefiele alleges bias, demands judges withdrawal. Ex-Nigerian NSA linked to $1 million US horse farm, according to reports, and we find that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page. We have one more here. It says, tax reform. Senate asks federal government, states to firm up agreements. And then we have the Speaker of the House of Reps there.
All right. Let's turn to the Nation newspaper for you. Just above the nameplate of the Nation newspaper. Top left, we have a picture of Ondo State's governor who was sworn in yesterday for his first full term in office, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa. Excuse me. It reads, development of bitumen port my priority, says Aiyedatiwa. What's more, Osho council workers get conflicting directives, so who should they follow? They say you can't serve two masters. Osun local government controversy, legal solution to log jam. What's more, 22-year-old Nigerians real tipped for Nobel Peace Prize. Quite a disruption. Quite a groundbreaking achievements there. It is more than a milestone. At 22, you're already being tipped for Nobel Peace Prize. That's terrific. All right, so let's take it down a little further now, just beneath the nameplate. Tinubu seeks stronger security synergy. Find those details on page 25 of the Nation newspaper. Ayawu court restrains Damagun INEC. Find those details on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Left end of the front page today says less than 30% of Nigerians pay tax. The writer tells us bills get backing at public hearing. Question is, if you have less than 30% of citizens paying tax, question is, we should be asking ourselves, what exactly can we do to expand the tax nets, bring more people in? We heard the informal sector is where the real challenges are. So how do we continue to formalize, as it were, that sector and find a way to bring more people into the tax net? Very important. And then ultimately the big elephant in the room, show to Nigerians what you're doing with their taxes. That's an obligation that government owes citizens. Then the Star headline says, funding crisis, improper planning hinder census. One of our big talking points this morning on the program, because a committee has now been set up by the president to midwife the census process. Last time we had a census in Nigeria was almost 2 decades ago. That was sometime in the middle of 2006. So it's been, virtually 19 years. We've not had one. We just continue to extrapolate with regards to how we drive data concerning population numbers and all of that. 1 minute is 180 million, the next they say is 200, and sometimes, just to be on the safer side, we'll say over 200 million. But it's time we got our fingers, on the numbers to know exactly what's the figures are saying regarding population. Population is a blessing. So the question is, are we appropriating our own in a way that is proper and scientific? The NBS has a lot of work to do in this regard. And then, of course, there's the National Populations Commission that primarily has a mandate to drive population conversation. Let's take it down to the foot of the page, or the front page of the Nation newspaper. That is, but then there's a rider with this big story this morning that says, President raises panel to rev up plan. That's the plan for census. Lastly, Kwara slates 5,928 for teachers recruitment interview. Those details await you on page 27 of the Nation newspaper. 9 die on Lagos Ibadan road crash. Then, of course, you can read it up on page 28 if you pick up a copy of the Nation newspaper today. That's all we can bring to you from the Nation newspaper. Time to flip things over to the Guardian newspaper, and Queen Agaba has the headlines for us.
Okay, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we have quite a number of stories as well. Underneath the nameplate, just directly underneath the nameplate, we have 400,000 naira per truck. Maritime transporters threaten strike over extortion in Lagos. Extortion is one thing we don't even have the time. We don't have time enough to discuss it, not only in Lagos, but in all parts of the country. But I think it is more in Lagos State when we talk about extortion. Native doctors protest alleged witch hunt by Soludo's administration. And NNPP suspend 7 Kano senator and 3 reps. You find that story on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. 53,225 pre-trial detainees languish in jail despite push to pardon politicians. And then we have the figures right there, the breakdown of these detainees here. El-Rufai threatened to dump APC over lack of internal democracy, rules out PDP move. Tinubu considers committee for fresh census, just how we saw in The Nation. We find that story as well on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper. Drug abuse, 1 million of Northwest 3 million addicts in Kano State. Kano State has, I think that should be number one. The factors that would make us consider this, this to be valid would be, first of all, the population in Kano State and the amount of uneducated young people who are in Kano State as well. And that stems up from the population as well, because, when you tend to have a state that is populated, you have them in the numbers, whatever it is you're having, you have it in the numbers. So whether you're having cases of, fraudulent activities or issues, basically societal issues, you have it in the numbers because of the population, and if the population is not, well managed. And we see here that quite a number of persons, young people in Kano, happen to be drug addicts. 1 million of Northwest, 3 million addicts. So it is estimated that we have 3 million drug addicts in the Northwest, and 1 million comes from Kano State alone. So that's quite disturbing. And I saw a documentary where, someone was talking about how people now do very insane things. When we talk about drugs now, we're not even talking about cocaine, the usual, marijuana and all of that cocaine. Now people are doing a lot of things, fermented.
You hear the names?
Yes.
One of them, okay, so my wife brought in an article somewhere on a blog, and then she asked me if that was a drug, or the name of a drug or the name of a country. I said it's a drug. Do you understand? It's just weird how, every other Sunday, I because of our line of work, I read stories about press releases by the NDLEA, and you're hearing names of drugs, you're wondering, whose idea is it to name these drugs like this? Or is it like the goal is to make, just to conceal what it's about, or is it to make it a bit more appealing, more fashionable for young people? Those names they are crazy. Here Loud, here Colorado. Colorado is a state in the U.S. for the records. And
even when they take it, they feel like they're in Colorado. And the Loud, so when you take the Loud, you're going to get Loud and all of that. So maybe the resultant reactions
is what influences the name.
What influences the, the name. Just maybe.
I was in a train in Lagos in 2018, and I heard scooches. So hear scooches. And because I have young girls at home, so I see like a puppy, more like maybe a kind of an endearing name for a little puppy or something. But these are drugs. And you see young boys, young girls, they are using.
Aside that, now people are not using, they now get high on their urine. Very insane things. And I'm wondering, they do a lot of terrible things to get high, fermented, waste and all of that, just so that they get high. I consider it diabolic to an extent.
Because it's not making sense.
It's not making sense. That's madness. And so we're losing our young people to, this drug addiction. And I think that we need to do so much, particularly in states where we have them in the numbers, so that, it's not a thing that is now transgenerational.
Obviously, Queen, as sad as it sounds, the NDLEA cannot do this alone. The state governments will have to jump right in on it, do their bits. What more can you do? Government at all levels must find a way to engage young people. Skill acquisition facilities, for those who are business inclined, give them the basic support, seed capital, startup funding, whatever you want to call it, ease of doing business. get people to be engaged in ways that are meaningful and resourceful in such a way that they are not only useful to themselves, they are valuable to society ultimately. Because my mom would always be quick to say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop and all of that. So how do you ensure that a young person's mind is not idle? Get them engaged. You may arrest all of them today, but the question is when they are eventually released or bailed, what happens? They are back to the same system, the same way of life they've known the whole time. So let's make it such that while on the one hand we're churning out hundreds of thousands, maybe in this day and age, millions of graduates every other graduation cycle, how do we intend to engage them? We say they are now in the labor market. So where exactly is the labor market? They are in society and at the point where they can't find stuff to do. I mean, they just look for the next available activity to get involved in. Because in this day and age, you now hear people selling drug-laced cakes. You know, they are being delivered on bikes and all of that. Cakes that are laced with all kinds of drugs. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of cake, but every time somebody close to me is marking a birthday or a big celebration, I just want to identify with them by eating cake. So what happens if I realize that such a cake had been laced and I go home acting all weird and unusual? How do I explain myself to those I'm responsible for and are responsible for me? I mean, as funny as these things may sound, it's crazy. People say they had been somewhere and they didn't understand themselves again. They didn't know where they were for almost an entire day or an entire night and all of that.
And I think people who lace food, whether cookies, cakes, food, whatever, it will interest you to know that even our local dishes, people lace it. People go extreme.
So I go somewhere to eat amala, for example, and there is laced.
And
I'm coming back to work.
And then you're dancing all over the place, removing your jacket, and then you're throwing tantrums.
Meanwhile, I'm supposed to be on the news in 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And in the news. Okay, let's not go there. But I think there should be punishment for these people who do these things, because it's without consent. You're giving me, you're drugging me without, wanting to know if I'm interested. And then you see young people, particularly young people who, okay, now this is even very a different scenario, because at that time I was in school, and a neighbor of mine gave me, I think it was stew or something, and I don't take drugs, I don't take alcohol, and so I just had a taste. Interestingly, I didn't eat it all at once. So this is a neighbor, a next door neighbor, But I discovered that I was feeling funny. I was, so I stopped. I think I had just 1 or 2 spoons, so I stopped, eating. For some reason, I was just, I probably would never have thought. I would just,
go all the way,
and and this was, I should have even been more careful and more sensitive. This goes to tell us to also students should be careful and sensitive. This was in the night, and so I just had it and I began to feel funny, and I stopped and locked my door immediately. Mind you, this is a male neighbor who gave me this. So, and the next morning I confronted this person, and you could tell that obviously this person had put something, maybe for himself, he does it, he sees it as normal, but now giving it to your neighbor,
somebody who's not accustomed to it,
who's not interested. It could be that I was really thinking, was there a motive behind it, but I sure did warn that person. So we should be careful. And I like that you say that the NDLEA alone cannot do this. Everybody must be involved, state government, even individuals are like, we should go back to the drawing board and look at what are the factors. Why do we have youths, young people who are drug addicts, particularly in certain states? It could be, one of the major reasons is unemployment. They say an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So when young people are idle, they begin to think up and above, up and beyond, everywhere. So they just look for things outside of drug. And when people become drug addicts, they are desperate people and they'll do anything. So because of that addiction, we now begin to have other menace, like kidnapping, stealing, armed robbery, even killing, killing, ritual killings and all of that.
From that
because
supposedly small act.
Yes, that's supposedly small act. Anybody that can be, influenced in such manner can be sold anything. They tell young people, kill, bring this head, and you make so much money. And they do it because, they can be easily influenced. And they are under an influence. And so we must go back to the drawing board, engage young people, and, prosecute those who are selling this drug. But when we say prosecute these people, we must not take away the fact that very prominent people who are supposed to look up to, who are supposed to be good influences, leaders, and leaders by example, are also in this act. Sometimes they are the chairman. And so what do you expect?
So who's going to show example?
Who's going to show example? So I just feel that, I just hope that we do better as a country and as a state. Well, moving on, we still have quite a number of stories, not so many anyways, but other stories in other papers. But for the Guardian newspaper, we have Tinubu asks National Assembly on workable tax law. Tinubu asks National Assembly on workable tax law. And then we have Abia, Rivers, Zamfara, Kano, 11 others lack female lawmakers. And then Ayedatiwa takes oath of office, pardons 43 inmates at inauguration. I just want to ask a question. Why is it that when we have people who, assume office, the first point of call is to pardon inmates? I know that is good. We've had presidential pardon recently, and then we are having
this
the governor of
one in
Ondo State, pardoning inmates. I know that, I understand that. Okay, they are within their judicial rights to pardon inmates. But why is that? Why is it the first thing that most likely the first
action that the governor takes once he gets into office? For many of them, I think there can be quite a number of reasons. First, you want to. You probably feel you have enjoyed a level of goodwill on account of the fact that you people have voted you into office.
Including those in the...
Well, there are many ways you can show it, all right? Those may not have voted, but you want to show to people that for the goodwill you have given me, I also have goodwill in me. I also have humanity in me. So you want to, sort of show a bit of compassion to say, okay, here's clemency, all right? Then there's also the fact that you probably now have you're now in a better space in your head to do this thing that you ought to have probably done earlier. And then there's also the political motive. Maybe that's what you're waiting to hear. There's also the political motive. Because whether you like it or not, politicians, as they say in the US, would always look at the optics. What are the optics? The optics will mean that you're looking at what the people think. If I pull off this action, what signal will this send? How will it affect my rating? How will it affect, of course, we don't talk much about rating in Nigeria. How will it affect my chances at coming back to office for a second term? How will it affect my party's rating, the perception of my administration, and things like that? So these are very important issues factors that inform governors taking this kind of action. But conversely, you almost don't see governors signing off on death sentences because governors always feel, well, I don't want blood on my hands, and things like that. That's why across the states you have people who are in custodial centers waiting for execution, but it's not happening. Why? Governors are not in a hurry to want to take that step, quite frankly. But in Nigeria, because we taint everything with politics, even when the government means well, even when the governor is doing it from a place of sincerity of purpose, goodwill and all of that, there's still going to be a bit of cynicism that comes with it because people feel like, what are you trying to prove? In fact, some people will even say the bulk of the persons who were released or who enjoyed that clemency at that time associated with his party or they are from his place. So there's always a tilt and there's always a bias that will naturally come with this things.
Well, very well said. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper.
Let's turn to Nigeria News Direct, and we'll bring you some direct headlines from here this morning. First is one above the nameplate that says Tinubu blocked my ministerial appointment, not National Assembly. El-Rufai was saying, by the way, was on Arise Television, our sister station, yesterday, talking about plenty of these issues, where he also indicted the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. Global Television will stick out those talking points for you in the course of broadcast today and all through this week. But let's also look at something here. It says 100 billion naira debt. That's a kicker for the big headline on the front page of the Nigeria News Direct. Supply disruption imminent as tanker drivers, marketers issue FG 7-day ultimatum. NCC blames 30,000 network outages in 2024 on road construction activities. Natural gas critical to bridge to Africa's energy deficits. That's Minister of Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekperikpe Ekpo, with a picture of him there. Natural gas critical to Africa's energy deficits. All right. What's more? It says Tinubu flags off distribution of 10,000 kits to midwives, empowers Kaduna women with 50 million naira. Inauguration, another kicker for you. Ayedatiwa pledges to build on Akeredolu's legacy, seeks unity for Ondo's progress, even though he has now changed the mantra for the agenda. But the important thing is Ondo people are the direct beneficiaries of the goodwill, of the competence, and of the innovation the governor brings with him to this first full term. Yeah, we have to say that. In office. Incidentally, that's a wrap on the Nigerian News Direct. Our next port of call is the Daily Trust newspaper.
Yes, the Daily Trust. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, we have big story. Opponents dissect Tinubu's tax reform bills. ACF submits memoranda. Will be thorough, says Akpabio. And then we have, just directly underneath the nameplate, Customs withdraws 4% import charges. Tinubu to set up committee on census. NNPP, Kwakwanso's faction, Rurum differ over suspension. Tinubu, not National Assembly, dropped me as minister, says El Rufai. And then we have tenant beats up landlord over house rent. Drug abuse, domestic violence on increase in Northwest, says Speaker. And then we have, lastly, on the Daily Trust, 9 killed, 3 injured in Lagos-Ibadan road crash. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. We'll move over to the Daily Independent.
Yeah, that happens to be our last paper this morning. Daily Independent for you. Well, we'll begin with the big story. It says, Tinubu eyes national census after 19-year deadlock plans committee. The writer tells us NPC procures 760,000 tablets stored with CBN. We move it a notch higher to the headlines above the nameplate for you. Ipman gives FG 7-day ultimatum to pay 100 billion naira claim. North at war against itself, Babangida Aliyu Lamet. Okay, so means there's a trouble within. Telecoms infrastructure, NIPSS urges Tinubu to prevail on states to waive right of way fees. Tinubu tasks National Assembly on workable tax laws. The writer says the security agencies strengthened to meet challenges. Yahya Bello not linked to 550 million naira property, EFCC witness tells court. Aye Datiwa sworn in as Ondo governor promises to explore blue economy. Osun crisis. NLC, APC disagree over resumption of council workers. Akpabio insists on unified tax system for Nigeria. You can read it up on page 5 or page 6, I should say, of the Daily Independent today. The issue of census is a big conversation for us on the program this morning. In the meantime, that's a wrap on newspaper review on Global Morning today. Well, some of these issues today and for the rest of the week will be sticking out in the course of our conversations across many programs. The APC is a party that's virtually as troubled as the PDP. Some people will argue and say, well, the edge that the APC essentially has over the PDP is that it's the ruling party, particularly at the federal level, then across a handful of states in the nation. However, the problem is that every time these parties sneeze, I mean these major political parties, Nigerians and indeed Nigeria catch cold, because it's always a case of two elephants fighting. It's either the parties are fighting within themselves where you have factions, or parties are fighting parties, that is external kind of conflict and what have you. El-Rufai, a very senior member of the APC, a chieftain of the APC, former governor within the APC, a man many persons had almost vouched almost anything to say, look, this man would be a minister in Tinubu's cabinet, or worst case scenario, a senior advisor. But that never happened. Just last night, a few hours ago, the man now accused the president that, look, he wasn't the National Assembly, not the Senate in particular, that dropped me, that refused me becoming a minister. You were the one that didn't want me to be a minister in the first instance. And then he also uses that same stripe on, well, I would say his erstwhile friend now, talking about Malam Nuhu Ribadu, the NSA. But in all of this, people will say, look, these people are friends. It's just Nigerians, the everyday Nigerian who is making it a problem, who is making it an issue. I mean, they say it's a storm in a teacup. But let's talk more about census, because that's more like a developmental issue for us, right? People say, well, in a country where you refuse to do census for almost 2 decades, how do you expect to be able to plan properly for your people and then be able to drive development?
And, it's important, like you earlier mentioned, that we understand our numbers, we know the right numbers, and not just the right estimates of, the population that we have, and not just estimated. We have an estimated of, we've been saying that over 200 million Nigerians for over 2 decades, quite frankly, because that was when we had the last census. And then, we see over 200, about 200 million Nigerians. But if we have proper census, we have the data of Nigerian. And I think with technology and how much technology has advanced, it should be better, it should be easier, for us to have, proper census of how, many people, young people, old people, Nigerians we have, for better working system, to better utilize the population. Our population should have so many advantages. Quite frankly, when we say a nation that is overpopulated or populated, it's associated with a lot of disadvantages. But with our population, we are outside of election, we should be able to take advantage of this population, have vast majority of young people in agriculture, because we have the data, we have the of this people, and so we should be able to put things in place that will ensure that we maximize our numbers. And so I think that this time around, what I expect as regards looking at census, it's long overdue, and I expect that it should be different. We should leverage technology to be able to know our numbers, and outside of having the census, I hope it's not another avenue for us to, money just be unnecessarily distributed or, siphoned somehow. But I expect that census is carried out, proper census is carried out, and beyond census, we begin to put in the work after, carrying out that census to ensure that, we're utilizing and maximizing our numbers.
All right, it's a very vital thing to say, but we also need to realize that the last time we had census, there were issues around, this counting was politicized. You gave this advantage to this region of the country, you gave that advantage to that region of the country. That's one. Number two is, people are saying that, look, when you earmarked monies for the purpose of census, all right, we've got to put our money where our mouth is. Let's be sure how much we're earmarking and whether or not we're getting commensurate value for it. Of course, census everywhere in the world is expensive. I mean, for you to even get data on a particular health issue, let's say you want to talk about diabetes, for example, and you say, let's get data, maybe it's the MBS doing that, for instance, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Health. It's going to be very capital intensive, let alone when you say you're doing census where you have to, of course, the NPC, that's the National Population Commission, does not have the manpower, all right, the numerical strength to pull it off. So they will need to engage, ad hoc staff, including, as is always the case, the members of the National Youth Service Corps and all of that. So it's quite expensive. But you see, we must not make it a process that is driven by purely politics. There will always be politics about these things unless we want to live in denial about it. However, let it be something that we do with a bit of dispassionate attitude in such a way that people can trust figures. Because one of the problems you have, Queen, is once people begin to have doubts over the authenticity or otherwise, I mean, they begin to have concerns about whether the credibility of data is a problem, whether it's in a small organization or in the public space or something that has to do with the civic environment, is always a problem, because it means whatever you drive, whatever you implement, whatever you present on account of that data, it will have credibility and legitimacy problem, because somebody somewhere already has cast a shadow of doubt over whether or not that data is credible. Well, one of the credible things we do here on Global Television is to bring you the news as timely as possible. So we're taking a quick break, everyone. Two big conversations right in front of us. One that has to do with the census and the committee that has been set up. And the second will take us to Ondo State. We'll be looking at, all of the drama that has played out leading to the emergence of Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa. That will be after we bring you the Global AM News at the top of the hour. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues,
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the Global AM News, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nigecomsat. You can also download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. The Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation has announced the postponement of the National Council for Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy meeting, originally scheduled to be held in Osun State from February 25th to 27, 2025. The decision comes in response to heightened political tensions in the state following the local government crisis. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, communicated this decision through an internal memo that was addressed to the state commissioners, directors of ministries, departments and agencies, heads of department units and key stakeholders. In a different development, chairmen elected on the platform of the All Progressives Congress in the 15 October 2022 Osun local government election have returned to their council secretariat amidst tight security. A heavy security presence was also said to have been noticed across major roads in the state, with armed police operatives and Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps officers mounting roadblocks at the entrances to the secretariat. The people of Jechira, comprising of Konshisha and Vandekia local government areas, have reaffirmed their commitment to Governor Hyacinth Alia in all circumstances to enable him to succeed in his mandate of providing quality leadership in the state. They gave their stance across party lines at the solidarity meeting of Jechira's sons and daughters held in Say Agberagba Konshisha local government area. Our correspondent Felicity Ndere was there for Global Television and now reports.
The solidarity meeting across party lines in Jechira, as conveyed by chairman of the Elders Forum, is to express their total support for their son, Governor Hyacinth Alia, to continue to deliver his democratic dividends to the people of the state. Various speakers, including traditional rulers, the political class, youth and women groups in their remarks were united in appreciating the transformative style of administration, saying the governor needs the support of everyone to have a stable mind to deliver on his mandate.
For the past 24 years, the governor we have never experienced this type of government. But when Badalia came into government, we have a lot of benefits.
Earlier is a clergy, and he's doing the right thing. Just as others are saying, when he came into governance, things were not proper, like the payment of salaries and whatever. So we the clergy started praying for him, and by the grace of God, he's doing very fine.
They gave the assurance of confronting any form of distraction capable of destabilizing the peace of the state.
As a woman from Jechila, as a woman, or the woman of Jechila, we are saying that we don't have any problem with him. We are ready to support him and stand by him to succeed.
What is the essence of other Jechila songs contesting? Of course, there's no point. There's no basis for any contest again. The essence is to come and deliver the dividends of governance, which is doing perfectly well.
Chairman of the APC Elders Forum, Senator Barnabas Gamadi, reassured the people of the governor's good works, saying they will stand by him at all times.
We will stand with the governor in all the trials and troubles that detractors are going to present to detract him from office. We will be with him in fighting those things.
The meeting was in attendance by Jechira sons and daughters, irrespective of political affiliations. From Tse Agbaragba Constitutional Local Government Area of Benue State, Felicity Ndere, Global TV News.
The Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned the money laundering case against former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello to March 6th and 7th, 2025. The case, filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, continued with testimonies from two prosecution witnesses. The first witness, Segun Adeleke, General Manager of EFA Properties Limited, testified about properties in Maitama and Gwarimpa. Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has marked his swearing-in with a bold act of clemency, granting freedom and reduced sentences to 43 prisoners. Acting on the recommendations of the State Advisory Council on the prerogative of mercy, Aiyedatiwa ordered the immediate release of 8 convicts, while 15 death row inmates had their sentences commuted to prison terms. Another 20 inmates serving life sentences were granted reduced jail terms. Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, Aderemi Oseni, has issued a warning to contractors handling road projects across the country, noting that substandard work will no longer be tolerated. Oseni, who represents Ibarapa East, Ido Federal Constituency, spoke during the Oyo Federal Roads Stakeholders Engagement in Ibadan, the state capital. The lawmaker emphasized that poor quality work remains a major cause of road failures in Nigeria, stating that adherence to project specifications is critical to achieving durable road infrastructure. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has warned fruit dealers and sellers against using calcium carbide in fruit ripening for commercial purposes. The warning was made by the NAFDAC coordinator in Sokoto State, Abdul Salam Lawal, during a public awareness campaign at a fruit market in Sokoto. Lawal urged fruit dealers and sellers to stop the dangerous practice, which he noted was harmful, stressing that it posed serious risks to public health. You're watching the live broadcast of the AM News. When the AM News returns, Prime Minister says over 7,000 people killed in the Republic of Congo since January. We'll bring you details of this as well as business and sports stories right after the break. Please stay with us.
Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Many thanks for staying with us on the program. If you've just joined us, this is Global AM News coming to you live from the nation's capital. Time to turn to business. Anthony Sani has condemned last week's decision by the House of Representatives to step down a motion to investigate the sum of 15 trillion naira unaccounted revenue with the Federal Allocations Committee. The motion, stepped down by the Green Chamber last week, was sponsored by the member representing Darazo Ganjua Federal Constituency, Bauchi State, Mansu Soro. Soro has faulted the non-adherence to the constitutional provisions in the disbursement of revenues accrued to Federal Accounts Allocation Committee to state and local government councils. There is looming fuel scarcity in Lagos and other parts of Nigeria as tanker drivers have stopped fuel loading over alleged harassment by officials of the Lagos State Government and the Federal Ministry of Transportation. Also, telecommunications companies have raised concerns over a possible network blackout as the strike by petroleum tanker drivers could disrupt diesel supply, threatening the operations of mobile and internet services. However, the Lagos State Government says it is only enforcing its e-call-up system, warning that attempts to blackmail the state government would be in futility. Meanwhile, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Depot Chairman Forum is threatening to shut down all retail outlets and suspend the lifting of products nationwide if their demands are not met. Godwin Sunday was there for Global Television.
At a press briefing held in Abuja, the Depot Chairman Forum of IPMAN expressed their frustration with the Nigerian Mainstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, over unpaid debts totaling 100 billion naira. The forum's chairman, Yahya Hassan, stated that the debt dating back to 2024 had negative impact on their businesses.
We are extremely frustrated that 1 year after our last demand as a forum, requesting the payment of over 100 billion owed our members in bridging and NTA claims by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Agency, Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA. The management of NMDPRA have deliberately ignored our request, even after making clear promises to pay us.
The IPMAN Depot's Chairman Forum is calling on President Bola Tinubu to intervene in the matter. I am Godwin Sunday, reporting for Global TV News.
Following the earlier press release announcing the suspension of the 4% free on-board charge on imports, the Nigerian Customs Service has said that all import declarations made during the initial implementation period have been cancelled. The National Public Relations Officer of the service, Abdullahi Mewada, announced this in a statement. He explained that the measure is necessary to ensure clarity, maintain consistency in customs operations, and prevent any disruptions in clearance processes. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Kadoso, has restated the bank's commitment to boosting economic cooperation between Nigeria and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A press statement from the regulatory bank says Kadoso stated this during a courtesy visit to the CBN headquarters by the Saudi Arabian ambassador to Nigeria, Faisal bin Ibrahim Al-Ghamdi, and his delegation. The statement noted that Kadoso emphasized the Apex Bank's dedication to fostering partnerships across key sectors that drive economic growth. The federal government has revealed that 15 billion naira out of 18 billion naira meant for the first phase of compensation to owners of demolished properties along Section 1 of the Lagos-Calabar Highway has been disbursed. It disclosed this in Lagos at a stakeholders meeting on the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, stating that the Section 1,047.7 kilometer, the quantum of compensation already put together is in excess of 18 billion naira, and so far the contractor has managed to disburse over 15 billion naira. Some pension union executives have met with the Executive Secretary of the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, Tolulope Odunaya, calling for stronger collaboration to boost the welfare of retirees. In a statement from Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, it was stated that the representatives of pension unions include those from the Association of Retired Paramilitary Officers and the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, all sectoral units, parastatals, who came to pay a courtesy call on the Executive Secretary at the Directorate's headquarters in Abuja. On the foreign scene, an American airline flight traveling from JFK Airport to Delhi was forced to divert to Rome after a bomb threat was made on board. The flight, which had 199 passengers and 15 crew members, had been 2 hours from its destination when it was rerouted over the Central Asian country of Turkmenistan. Reports say the airline confirmed the diversion was due to a possible security issue. French President Emmanuel Macron will meet with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump in Washington, saying he will present proposals for action to counter the Russian threat in Europe and ensure peace in Ukraine. Macron is hoping to persuade Trump when the two leaders meet on the 3rd anniversary of the war in Ukraine to include European leaders in talks between Russia and the United States. Trump sent shockwaves around Europe when he declared his readiness to resume diplomacy with Russian President Vladimir Putin and to hold talks without the involvement of European nations or Kyiv. Pope Francis is in a critical condition with pneumonia since he was hospitalized on February 14th. He had a good night and was resting. The Vatican says the night passed well and the Pope slept and the Pope is resting. In a brief statement, as Francis, 88, entered his 11th day at the Gemelli Hospital in Rome, making this the longest hospitalization of his papacy. The United States Agency for International Development placed no fewer than 1,600 employees worldwide on administrative leave. The administrative leave was announced in a statement titled Notification of Administrative Leave on the agency's website. It says concurrently, USAID is beginning to implement a reduction in force that will affect approximately 1,600 USAID personnel with duty stations in the United States. Violence raging in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has killed more than 7,000 compatriots, many of them civilians, since last month. According to the Congolese premier, the Rwanda-backed M23 armed group has seized large swathes of the mineral-rich Eastern Republic of Congo, including the main cities of Goma and Bukavu, in the face of limited resistance from Congolese forces. Prime Minister Judith Suminwa Tuluka told the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva that the security situation in Eastern Republic of Congo has reached alarming levels. In sports, Nigeria's male senior basketball team, the Tigers, have conquered the fear of missing out on this year's International Basketball Federation Afro-Basket Championship after they were declared qualified for the tournament before their last qualifying match against Cape Verde. The Tigers were billed to face Group B leaders Cape Verde in their last game of the second phase of the qualifier, needing another win to boost their chances. The International Basketball Federation says regardless of how they finish the qualifiers, all the countries in Group B, which comprises leaders Cape Verde, Libya, Nigeria and Uganda will qualify for the tournament in Angola as the best fourth-placed team. Former Liverpool defender Jamie Carragher has sparked controversy after dismissing the African Cup of Nations as not a major tournament while discussing Mohamed Salah's chances of winning the Ballon d'Or this year. Speaking after Liverpool's 2-0 victory over Manchester City on Sunday, Carragher suggested that Salah's nationality and Egypt's international record could hinder his chances of claiming football's most prestigious individual award. Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen is preparing for the derby with Fenerbahce with a different motivation. The match at Rams Park Stadium promises an unforgettable battle for football fans. Same for the red-yellow superstar who got angry after critics said N-Nessis is better than him. It was learned that Osimhen told his close circle they'll see who does better in the derby, prepared specially for that match. And that's it on the Global AM News. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on StarTimes channel 276, and free to air on Nigecomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. You can also download the Global TV Nigeria app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again. Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television. Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, now time to talk numbers. Yes, with regards to population, basically, and what Nigerians' case has been in the last almost 2 decades. For many people, census is not something you do in 2006, and by 2025, you are still contemplating whether or not you should have another such exercise. There are people who have argued very vehemently that, as a matter of fact, if there's any area where Nigeria has had a gap, it is in the fact that we have not properly articulated and appropriated the power of census and then population ultimately. We understand as of today that the president has commissioned a panel to help midwife, of course, this next census that has been, as it were, proposed. But we also know for a fact that it is the National Population Commission that essentially has the mandate, all right, to drive issues that specifically border on population. What exactly are the talking points in this development? Is Nigeria lagging behind in this regard? Well, let's find some of these answers with our guest this morning who joins us live via Zoom. Is Onyekbere, who is a development lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Mr. Onyekbere, I'd like to say thank you to you for joining us on Global Morning today. Let's begin first by asking, I mean, it's almost 2 decades. Like you know, last time was in 2006. Now we are still pretty much contemplating whether or not we want to have census. Last year, I mean 2 years ago, 2023, at the twilight of the Buhari administration, there had been some indication that Nigeria could have had a census, but that never happened, for example. Are we just a country not taking developmental issues seriously, or are there teething problems we're trying to address before we move on?
Well, let me start by saying that a head count or a census is a very important instrument. It's important for planning, for the economy, even the politics of it all. It's important for the protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. It's important for development generally. In fact, it's important for everything Nigeria stands for. Unfortunately, if you remember the history of the census, some part of it that the British conducted and the confessions that later came out, you discover that the census has been made much more of an instrument of domination, oppression, and politics, more than an economic planning tool or a developmental tool. So at every given point in time, Nigeria is trying to have a census. There are all kinds of forces, including the leadership of the country, positioning themselves for manipulation, that I dare say that Nigeria had never had a good census like a free and fair census. Let me use that word borrowed from elections, where the actual numbers and who they represent are entered into the official books for we to know that state A has just say 1 million people, state B has 2. Some of these people are Christians or Muslims, or even the fact that we refuse to put in the ethnic base of our people in the census. When at another point, if you want to fill any form, they ask you to indicate the ethnic group you come from. So what we have around our census so far, from time immemorial up till today, is the failure of honesty, the failure of volition, the failure of telling ourselves the truth when we simply are dishonest. The leadership does not believe in what they say. So at the end of the day, the census somehow makes little or no meaning, because it doesn't really portray the actual fact of how many we are and the divisions and subdivisions within us.
My colleague Queen Agaba will also advance a few questions shortly. But before that happens, we all also know, Mr. Yekbere, that census exercises are not cheap. All right, they cost a whole lot. In fact, in some cases, especially when you look at it against the backdrop of a country like Nigeria, they can cost a fortune in a manner of speaking. So, are we saying that we are putting money, as it were, in a basket? Because they say put your money where your mouth is. So if you are investing, as it were, so much in census, and then you're not getting commensurate value for it, what exactly is then the objective beyond political motivation, ethnic and religious objectives?
So we are not even investing enough, so to speak, because we should be doing this exercise maybe every 10 years or for limited periods of time when the results will be useful for economic development and planning. Now, we've taken 20 years or thereabout and we've not done a census, so it's not like we're investing much. The whole idea should start from gathering of relevant data and statistics. For instance, ensuring that every newborn is registered, ensuring that dates are registered, that even without having a census properly so-called, you could make a very close estimate of what population is living in any particular state or geographical division. Or you could have an estimate of how much exactly in terms of sheer numbers that there is in Nigeria. It shouldn't take us 20 years to do one census. And if we are doing a census, we must be doing it bearing in mind that we want to use it to plan for the economy. You want to use it to plan for health, education, roads, infrastructure, or even for the purpose of taxation. But what we have is a disconnect between what census should have been and what it is being used for. People are looking at census in terms of, oh, we are going to vote in 2027. So let's inflate the figures that should come from XYZ states, so that at the end of the day, we return, oh, we are the largest population. So there is a huge disconnect between what census should be and what we are using it for. And I'm saying we are not investing enough. It's not just about the head count on a particular day or period of days. It's about collecting information that should help us to validate even whatever we have as census. The number of births we have, those who are also leaving the world, and other data and statistics that we should collect, so that at every given point in time, we have an idea, even without a census, of our real population.
All right, let's ask this quickly, because it's also very vital to this conversation we're having this morning. We have the National Population Commission. Somebody jokingly asked a few years ago, in between two census exercises, what exactly is the job of the commission? That's the National Population Commission, in light of its mandate. How effective or otherwise has that commission been? Some people say, well, you can't blame the commission much, because if they are not mobilized in terms of funding and other very critical resources, there's next to nothing they can do. But again, there are people who work there who must be paid. These are career civil servants and what have you. Help us make sense of this angle.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I see the National Population Commission getting 5 votes every year in the budget. So I don't think whatever the challenges they have is based on a failure of funding. They already have funds. And some of these things is about putting systems in place and following up with it. Not everything will require you to collect the kind of money INEC wants to collect, even when they don't organize free and fair elections. So it is not about funding. The central issue is about how mobilized, or how they are mobilizing people so that they can do their civic duties that gives a sense of our population, or even gives an accurate head count of things that are going, the sheer birth rate, or even the number of people living in Nigeria, or at the same time, even with the census, what are we doing with those figures? You know, educating people about the needs for things like, may not necessarily be their function, but the resources they bring will help us plan for things like family planning, and even the resources we have vis-a-vis our population, and whether that population is a real viable population. It's not just talking about sheer numbers. What is the quality of your population? What's the quality of education available to them? What's the quality of health services available to them? What skills do they possess? What's their purchasing power? So there's quite a whole lot. It's not about the population commission per se, but it's about the leadership and the politics of it that simply rubbishes the idea of a census.
Okay, before going guessing, the National Bureau of Statistics, as the name implies, obviously midwives issues around data and statistics for this country. There's also the argument about interagency collaboration and what have you. Every time we hear about numbers, estimated population numbers, it always comes from the NBS. In this case, how do we strengthen interagency synergy on the one hand, and then on the other hand, in a country where many persons believe that we don't even trust the data that we generate, all right, how do we make progress going forward?
I don't think it's NBS that gives you population data. They may be publishing statistics they get from other agencies. I haven't seen a part of their mandate which says they should count Nigerians or tell us our population. Yes, there should be interagency collaboration. But even the NBS you just mentioned has simply rubbished and ridiculed the idea of gathering statistics. MBS woke up one morning and told us that we are doing international best practices and simply moved the unemployment rate from 34, 35 or 30 something percent down to 3 or 4% or less than 6%. And then rubbished the idea of underemployment and told us that 90 something percent or 95, 96% of Nigerians are employed. When in actual fact, what they did was to change the methodology for calculating who is employed and who is not employed. And even the chief of that statistics agency, I'm sure, will be having brothers and sisters who've left universities demanding urgent 2K from him every other day in their tens of numbers, simply because they are not doing anything. They also woke up one day, like they did last time, and moved the inflation rate from 30 something to 24. Even the CBN didn't believe them. They knew they were joking. That when they did the monetary policy committee, they still left the monetary policy rate at 27, which was far above the inflation rate. But normally they should be at par, or even the monetary policy rate should be less. So what I'm saying in essence is that the credibility of even the NBS we are discussing is very much in doubt, because those things are supposed to do, whether it's inflation or unemployment rate, is to inform government policy. But when you simply bring a methodology that wants to make the government you are serving look good and nothing, and everybody knows that what you are doing has no, people we are asking them, have prices of goods and services come down? They say, no, it's not about price of goods and services coming down, but it's the new methodology they are using. So in essence, I want to see interagency collaboration, but the kind of agency you mentioned now is not the kind of agency I want to see to inform my population, because they could also tell you there's a new method of counting Nigerians that either suppresses the number in certain areas or inflates it in others. They are not reliable. So there's no question of talking about MBS. I don't see anything they're doing.
Okay, many thanks for your contribution so far. But we've highlighted some of the challenges that are, associated with our growing populations. But the consequences of not addressing these challenges, what are these consequences regards our population and of not addressing these challenges, and how do we mitigate it?
The consequences you see is underdevelopment we have today. Okay? Underdevelopment stemming from the incredible number of children who are out of school. Do we have the statistics to plan for them? The high rates of maternal and child mortality, lack of access to pipe-borne water, poor medical services. These are all clear issues that we don't have a proper population count which should inform developmental policy, or that if we have a population count, that it is being ignored and something else done when we are doing our developmental policy in terms of its formulation and in terms of its implementation. It is important even for things as little as electricity. Okay, do I say electricity is little? The AEDC or any other company needs to know the number of people it's serving in Jabi, in Lokogoma, in Maitama, so that you plan for them. Know the energy you have to put in, know the transformers, know the strength of the wires you have to put in. So these things are quite important in every sector. I've mentioned education, I've mentioned health, I've mentioned electricity, even the roads. What number of users or what quantity of vehicles are likely to use the road you are constructing will also tell you how reinforced the road should be. So that's the failure we are having, simply because we are neither doing a proper head count, or when we do the head count, we are not using the figures to inform policy formulation and implementation.
You see, you just did a brilliant work there, Mr. Yekpere, with your narrative, talking about how that there are consequences with the kind of approach you have towards issues around census, issues around population, and what have you. And for want of better words, you also indicted the NBS. There have been questions in recent times, particularly starting from 2023, about the NBS's methodology for doing part of its work. All right. For example, the most recent, I guess, is the CPR basing issue. That the NBS even came out to the public to say, look, we have re-strategized based on some move driven by international best practice and what have you. But in a bid to be fair to the NBS, is there a rule that says you cannot at some point, as an agency as pivotal as the National Bureau of Statistics, review your methodology given the realities and how things are fast moving across the world?
No, I think you have to look at your mandates and see whether the methodology you are using reflects the performance of the duties that should make you realize your mandate. If anybody tells you he's using international best practice to rebase calculation of inflation, that person lies. And I dare him to bring that international best practice. People should stop deceiving others. We all went to school. And none of these people who are telling you this is reputed to be any scholar of repute or have written any book or have done any empirical studies. There's nothing like international best practice. As you have to inform the government about the movement of the price of goods and services and how they're affecting the citizen. Somebody buys something at 10 naira today, tomorrow he buys it at 20, and you come back and tell us you are doing 24% inflation and you are manipulating figures and statistics. Are the prices of goods and services coming down? No. Did unemployment come down? It rather increased. So your methodology must conform to the realization of your mandate. Once your methodology becomes pure academic ramblings, then you're wasting my money as a taxpayer. You're wasting my money. I did not put you there from my tax money to go and start thinking up some funny and weird ideas. So they are not entitled to do anything that does not conform to the realization of their mandate. It's not a place you play games. So that's the point I'm making.
Okay, so let's look at marginalized populations. A vast majority of people of our population are marginalized. Can we just, how is it possible for legal community to ensure that rights of marginalized people are promoted, protected, and there's growth and development in that context?
Well, the important thing is that nobody is going to give anybody any rights. People have to fight for their rights. That is what it has always been from the beginning. For instance, the federal government has now said we need to do development commissions to be able to develop underdeveloped parts of Nigeria. There are commissions northwest, northeast, everywhere now, southeast. Now, if you look at the resources made available to them, and even the resources going to states and local governments, there is no reason why the basic conditions of life, like access to pipe-borne water, basic healthcare services, basic education that is very well run, and even access to at least 15-16 hours of grid or off-grid electricity shouldn't be available. So what should happen is that the people should organize and mobilize themselves in those communities and begin to demand and ask questions about what their money is being used for. It's not about population. Nobody is going to do you a favor. All those people who are put into those boards are celebrating. Some of them are going to churches to give thanksgiving, according to them, that God has given them an opportunity to steal. Because they won't tell you they're going to steal, but that's why they're giving thanksgiving. What is the essence of going to celebrate that you are asked to serve your people? Wait, that celebration should be in service. Or after you finish serving people, then they can celebrate you. So in essence, nobody is going to help anybody to develop. It's only when the people become conscious of the fact that those supposedly you think are your leaders are the people holding you down, you begin to ask them questions that make them uncomfortable, put their feet on the fire. Because what is happening, the level of resources available in the country is not in any way reflected in the standard of living. That's simple. I don't see anybody who is going to do me any special favor, because all they are planning is how to mismanage the little resources that is available.
Okay, I'm particularly concerned about social development goal, sustainable, I beg your pardon, sustainable development goal, particularly in regards to decent living, decent housing, cities and all of that, and how it relates to population basically, and also how, these social development goals can, help in terms of population development and growth as well. The relation.
Now, there comes a time when we have to tell ourselves the truth. In certain parts of the country, people are simply procreating. They are not educating their children. They are not taking care of them. They simply bring forth children and push them into the streets while you have all this armagery. So it must reach the level where, with a proper census, the government and the people need to sit down and talk to themselves. It's not about the sheer numbers. It's about their capacity. For instance, today, our population is more than double or even triple that of South Africa. But anybody who wants to build a factory where they manufacture, assemble new cars, will likely go to South Africa first before Nigeria, because in South Africa, they have the economic capacity to demand brand new cars more than in Nigeria. So if you build it here, Nigerians, that effective demand is not there. What percentage of your population can feed themselves? So we need to begin to talk not in sheer size of raw numbers that people may want to use to manipulate elections or even inflate figures. We have to talk of an effective population, a population that is well educated, a population that is healthy, a population that has value, okay, improves their environment, a population that can actually stand up and make demand of goods and services. That's the kind of population we need. And that's where census meets the developmental question. You have 100 million people in your state. How much tax do we extract from your state? What value does your state add? Okay, when we begin to answer these questions without any emotions or sensationalizing it, then that will be the start of our development journey, a proper start for that journey.
This stretches a little beyond Nigeria, Mr. Yekperi, because we're seeing even international agencies, we're seeing NGOs on a global scale come to Nigeria to collect data. I mean, they bring field officers here, they are right on the ground, they're doing their work across critical sectors, from education to health, to tech, to oil and gas, and finance, and what have you, including the multilateral institutions, World Bank, IMF, AFDB, and the rest of them. Just last week, for example, now talking about all of this data and even how it informs the basis for rating, President Bola Tinubu was speaking to African leaders at the AU level. And one of the things he did propose very firmly is that we probably have had enough as a continent of 54 countries to, of having countries, other agencies from across the world, whether it's from Europe or from America, coming to Africa to rate our banks, to rate our firms, rate our sectors, and so on and so forth. He's now advocating for indigenous rating agencies because he says that these, foreign agencies have not been fair in their rating of African countries, of African institutions, of even African firms, and what have you. Does that already say that there is an inherent bias in data collection, data analysis, data application, and ultimately in census and population issues?
When you go to the AU to tell other Africans that we need our own rating agencies, charity should begin from home. Why did you anchor your critical policies on the demands of the international financial institutions and development agencies, the World Bank and IMF? Why did you suddenly devalue your currency from 400 to 1,600 to the dollar? So it is not about stating things simply because you have a podium to talk. It's even about what do you do in your own country. We don't need anybody to rate us, but it is because of how we've positioned ourselves, made ourselves a laughing stock, put on a begging bowl in our hands, begging around the world, unable to feed ourselves, unable to take care of our wives and daughters when they will impregnate them, and our children, we can't take care of them. So why wouldn't somebody else rate you? What has the administration done with the vast arable lands in Nigeria for us to feed ourselves? Why are you importing tractors and every car and machinery when there are companies in Nigeria that can give you those tractors? Why are we importing Toyota, Hilux, all the big SUVs when Innocent in Inewi can do it, Northern in Lagos can do it? So, Mr. President, with utmost respect, does not even understand what he's saying. If he wants to build a Nigerian economy, he should come back home and do it. Why are certain sections of Nigerians marginalized? When you do all the railways, they're either moving between Ibadan to the southwest, okay, Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, Kaduna. Then you start from Katsina, you want to go outside Nigeria to the border with Niger. Why is there no modern railway starting from Port Harcourt, about why is the entire southeastern part of Nigeria neglected? So these are critical questions. You don't just go out because they gave you a pedestal at the African Union to talk about rating agencies. If you want to develop Nigeria, come back home and have that dialogue and do the right thing. And also, tell me who does what the kind of thing we are doing. Look at the value of, or the bank, okay, the capitalization of our big banks, like Zenith, GTB, UBA. Do you know the value of their shares at about 50-60 to the dollar, 50-60 naira? A dollar at about 1,500, okay, to the naira. Somebody, you are selling, a big bank is selling its shares at 30, 50 naira. Which means you are discussing less than 5 cents is the value of your stock. Which bank in the US or in Britain has that kind of value? Because you simply allowed yourself to be outmaneuvered. You simply subjected yourself to ridicule. You do not simply float your currency. At a point in time, you have nothing to sell to the international community except crude oil. You don't determine the price. Even the crude oil, you cannot bring it out and sell. You bring out 2 million and 1 million part of it is stolen and not accounted for. So clearly what I'm saying is that I don't care about anybody making speeches about what the internationals are doing to us. We are the ones doing it to ourselves. So if we get our acts in order, no international agency will come here to rate you. If you have your acts in order, if you are doing the right thing, if they come here to rate you and tell you something you don't like, you tell them off. But you have no capacity to tell them off because you are dependent on them. That's why we can make all our big banks extremely penny stocks. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that is happening, and that somebody has been working for the past 15-20 years. The more he sells, the less value he has. So there is no way you can go to Africa, to African Union, to talk about the rating agencies while you have not kept your house in order.
Well, that's where we're living. It's Ezeri Ekpere, developmental lawyer, and of course, socioeconomic expert. Thank you for these valuable insights that you have shared with us today. We do wish you the best of today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, that's all we'll leave our first conversation, everyone. We'll return shortly, and then we turn to Ondo State to look at what the developments have been like in the Sunshine State. Do stay with us.
is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
Our global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on global television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is the Global Television.
Into variety of current affairs and
issues. And at the same time, keeping you well informed about nationals.
Global Morning serves as a well-informed.
Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues. And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world with our app on Google and Play Store. All you need to do is download Global TV Nigeria on your phone and watch all programs on Global Television. What are you waiting for? Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Incidentally, it turns out that our guest from Ondo State, well, the Speaker of Ondo State House of Assembly, Olamide Oladiji, is not able to join us this morning. But then we may have to just KIV this conversation for sometime later this week because it's still quite fresh. But we understand that, yes, the governor got sworn in yesterday, so that inauguration was pivotal, was big. And then we understand there was also some party and, felicitation and all of the enjoyment, as you can imagine. Later in the day, who knows, maybe stretched into the night. And Mr. Speaker is a human being, first of all, before anything else. So we'll stay in touch with him and make sure we have this conversation sometime down this week. But then there are several things to talk about as far as this country is concerned. There are people now saying that there's a chance that Right Honorable Miranda, Speaker, the Lagos State House of Assembly, will step down, given the development we're not seeing on the basis of the recommendations by the Akonde panel, because Lagos State House of Assembly is a bit peculiar compared to other state houses of assembly across the country, because they have the Governor Advisory Council, the GAC, some people say the GAC and all that. So it's more like a board, more like a governing council of some kind, where you even have all the former governors, including the serving governor. And then, of course, you can imagine how that President Bola Tinubu, former governor of Lagos State, is also a member of this council. But in all, what Lagosians want, I'm very sure we know for a fact, is that peace will reign ultimately in this regard. I was thinking, to a different issue now in the course of the weekend. The Women's Week is close, starting first week of March. I know women are excited, even though they are also going to have several occasions of Mother's Day, to top it all off. Exactly. But you see, it gave me time to reflect about how far women have come across different spheres of influence, right? Because it's not just Women's Week because we have women in the world. It's essentially Women's Week because of the difference that women make in our lives and ultimately in society across endeavors. Exactly, that sort of thing. A time there was where it was the norm for you to say, well, if I have 5 children, 3 are boys, 2 are girls, the girls don't have to go to school. After all, they're going to get married in the end, the boys can go to school and all that. We see how that has changed the last couple of decades, particularly from the 80s all the way. Of course, we saw a bit of that in the 70s, but I think it became very rampant coming into the new millennium, where you now have young girls who can say, well, I want to follow the normal path, going to school, writing JAM and getting to university, deciding whether I want to do masters or not after NYC and all of that. Women are now carving their own path, and we see how that is radically disrupting, for all the good reasons, the way the world works.
And there's a popular quote that says that when you train a woman or you train a girl child, you train a nation. And I've seen that play out countless times.
Right.
Yes, not necessarily because I'm a woman, but because
that also, if that's the reason, it's also valid.
Yes, it's valid. If that's the reason, it's also valid. But because women are nurturers and multipliers, and so whatever a woman is given, she multiplies it. And if you give a woman education, definitely you're going to see that education replicate. And over time, we've had more women who are passionate about educating fellow young women, fellow young girls, you know, ensuring that that education, that literacy that was passed to them is passed on to other women, because it's more like happy to see that, okay, you're a woman, you're powerful. And so if you can come this far, achieve this, you know, get certain strides for yourself, it means that another woman, another young girl can do it. Let's change the narrative where a woman's job, career, everything, education, everything ends in the kitchen. You can do much more now beyond just, you know, being a woman and getting married. I've seen women who have taken up leadership position and are doing amazingly and fantastically well. Talk of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, you know, top of the World Trade Organization there. Talk of women in, even the speaker of the Lagos State, yes. And you know, across boards, women are doing beautifully. And so it's commendable. Quite frankly, next month, from the 8th of March, we'll begin, in fact, from next month, even from now, we started to hear about women programs, yes,
the
and
themes,
so, yes, team and all
the
that.
events around it.
Yes, events around it. So what I would encourage organizations, ministries, women, young women, even the men, to support the women in commemoration of the International Women's Day, and in commemoration of, you know, what is to come, and in celebration of all that women are and all that you've been able to contribute. The men are doing fantastically well, but take it or leave it, without the women there's no spice.
Who says we don't need spice? Not just in our pots of soup or something, but we need spice in every area of our life. We're looking forward to to March, seeing that entire weekend. Of course, you know, once it's a week-long event, it's virtually something that stretches the entire month. And now again, it has to do with women, mothers, wives, daughters,
and we have like
girlfriends, female colleagues, female neighbors, and everything. So it's going to be big, and like I mentioned, the theme will drive conversations. There will be events locally and internationally, and there will be talking points that will help for the next few decades, all right, define and redefine how issues around women are treated and the place of women in society, regardless of the space that they play in.
I just lost my line of thought, but I was going to say, yes, I just remembered now, that they say that women, we have like 20 Mother's Day, 20 days in a year to celebrate women, and then we have just one
for the men. We are getting used to
that.
I mean, we realize that there's next to nothing we can do about it.
Of course, we celebrate the men. We celebrate the men. The men are doing fantastically. I can't even imagine some sectors without a man. You know, they say behind every successful man is still a woman. Even though the men are doing great things, it's still the woman that is pushing the man. You know.
Well, it's a nice place to leave it all together this morning, everyone. Thank you so very much for spending a part of your time with us. As you know, we do not take the time you invest with us on our programs, particularly Global Morning, for granted. The views of our guests on all of our programs, their opinions. We are Mufwebe.
I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching, and see you again. Bye.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Today we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2%